Hi, this is Kathy, and I closed my eyes and prayed and picked Daily Guidance from Your Angels Oracle Cards by Doreen Virtue. And this is the card, the ocean, that flipped out. The deep blue sea speaks to your soul, healing and soothing you. Even the act of imagining yourself dipping into its healing womb brings about desirable effects. Better yet, spend time physically near the ocean. Allow its power and beauty to wash away all cares and concerns. Well, I am not going to the ocean, but for those of you who are in a warmer climate or are watching this in the summertime, maybe you'll be inspired to go to the ocean. I love the ocean, but in the wintertime it's too cold. Too cold. So I'm going to read from The Divine Principle by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Now, this was a revelation he received through diligent, fervent prayer and study of the Bible. So the Divine Principle is totally based on the Bible, and it explains thoroughly all the secrets of the Bible, things that don't make sense or we don't understand them. So I'm reading from Salvation Through the Cross. This is chapter 4. Was salvation completed through the cross? Did Jesus' crucifixion, which brought us redemption from our sins, fulfill the purpose of the providence of restoration? If so, we would expect that faithful believers in Jesus would have restored their original nature and built the kingdom of heaven on earth. Yet in the entire history of Christianity, there has been no one, no matter how devout, who lived his life in inseparable oneness with God. Not one person has ever experienced God's heart in its full intensity or possessed a divine nature. There has never been a believer who had no need of redemption or a life of ardent prayer and devotion. Christian parents continue to transmit the original sin to their children. The grace of redemption by the cross has neither fully uprooted our original sin nor perfectly restored our original nature. And of course, original sin is the sin of Adam and Eve. Eve had sex with Lucifer, and then she went to Adam, realized Adam was supposed to be her husband, and had sex with Adam. And that was the original sin. Jesus' death on the cross. Was Jesus' death on the cross the most desired will of God? Let us first examine the words and deeds of the disciples as recorded in the Bible. Okay, I'm going to skip over that. I'm just reading the red highlighted so that if you want to learn more, you could get the Divine Principle yourself, or you can just access it online. Next, let us examine from the viewpoint of God's providence whether the crucifixion of Jesus was inevitable as the predestined will of God. I'm thinking I better read some of that. I better go back and read a little of the blue. There was one unanimous feeling evident among the disciples concerning the death of Jesus. They were grief-stricken and indignant. Stephen, for example, burned with indignation over the ignorance and disbelief of the Jewish leaders, and he condemned their actions, calling them murderers and rebels. We can infer from their bitter reaction that Jesus' death was unjust and undue. So there are Christians who believe that Jesus was meant to die on the cross for our sins. But as you could see, think about it. if he was meant to die, then, excuse me, wouldn't Judas Iscariot, wouldn't he be revered? Jesus was supposed to die. Then the one who actually delivered him to be killed would be revered, but he's not. So Jesus was not meant to die. Now let us examine the words and deeds of Jesus himself to ascertain whether his crucifixion was in fact the way to completely accomplish his mission as the Messiah. Jesus' words and deeds were meant to engender belief on the part of the people that he was the Messiah. For example, when the people asked him what they must do to be doing the works of God, Jesus replied, "This is the work of God, that you believe in him whom he has sent." One day, when he was agonizing over the Pharisees' disbelief and having no one with whom to share his heart, Jesus looked down sadly over the city of Jerusalem. He wept as he lamented the fate of the Jewish people, whom God had so laboriously and lovingly guided for 2,000 years. Jesus prophesied that the city would be so utterly laid waste that not one stone would be left upon another. He clearly pointed to the ignorance of the people, saying, "You did not know the time of your visitation." So how many miracles and signs did Jesus perform in his desperate efforts to lift the people from their disbelief? Yet even as they were witnessing the wondrous works of Jesus, the religious leaders mocked him as one possessed by Beelzebub. In the midst of such a wretched situation, Jesus cried out, "Even though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and understand that the Father is in me, and I am in the Father." John 10:38. Then, confronting his opponents, he scathingly denounced their hypocrisy. Through his words and deeds, Jesus tried to bring his people to believe in him, because it was God's will that they do so. We can deduce that Jesus' death on the cross was the unfortunate outcome of the ignorance and disbelief of the people of his day. It was not necessary for the complete fulfillment of his mission as the Messiah. This is well illustrated by Jesus' last words on the cross. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Luke 23:34. So the crucifixion was a terrible, great and terrible sin, a terrible sin. And so Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Another indication that Jesus' death on the cross was not the will of God, but rather due to the disbelief of the people, is that Israel declined after the crucifixion. Okay, I'll stop there. Okay, I guess I can't think of anything else to talk about, so I will close this video. I feel like I need to give at least a last parting words. Jesus did not come to die. He came to teach God's children how to get back to God. He came to get married, restore his wife, restore her to becoming a true daughter of God. And between him and his wife, though they would be the true parents of all mankind, the original true parents of all mankind. But because the crucifixion, there was no marriage, there were no true parents of mankind. What it is Reverend Moon was able to marry and create a new lineage, create a true parents. Of course, I told you this before. The problem is Hak Jahan, Reverend Moon's wife, after he died, she changed his scriptures. She did a lot of things that disrespected Reverend Moon. The wedding rings that are given, because they have mass weddings, Reverend Moon, since a little child, was very adept at matching people and knowing who was good together. So he would have mass weddings. And